Hey guys, John Schulte, JTS Tax and Financial here. Good news. Finally, we got some guidance on PPP loans for sole proprietors, people without payroll, self-employed, independent contractors, all of those lumped into one category. We have guidance on how the PPP loan is going to work for these individuals without payroll, so to speak. So this is what I've been telling everyone to wait for. It's here. I want to go through the document and show you all the relevant parts so that you can get going on your applications or start to get the information together that you're going to need in order to apply. This is a 19-page document, and I've highlighted the relevant parts of it here. We want to start here on page 4. And I'll have a link to download this. A lot to get to here, so we'll just go through this as efficiently as I can possibly try to do. Right here, it basically starts with a little Q&A. It says, I have income from self-employment and file a Form 1040 Schedule C. Am I eligible for a PPP loan? Now, let me just back up for a sec and tell everybody that if you are an independent contractor, even if you have a main job and you do some freelance work on the side, you are filing a Schedule C. Basically what they're saying is, are you filing a tax return, right? So the answer here is you are eligible for a PPP loan if you were in operation on February 15th, 2020. You are an individual with self-employment income, such as an independent contractor or a sole proprietor. 3, your principal place of residence is in the United States. And 4, you've filed or will file a 1040 Schedule C for 2019. One thing I do want to mention that I saw here in the text, further down that page, it says, in addition, you should be aware that participation in the PPP may affect your eligibility for state-administered unemployment compensation or unemployment assistance programs, including the programs authorized by Title II, Subtitle A of the CARES Act, or CARES Act Employee Retention Credits. This is the first mention of this I have heard anywhere, and this is pretty significant because if you're not able to collect unemployment because you're getting a PPP loan, you have to make a very careful decision on which route you want to go. The unemployment deal, which is still being developed, we don't know exactly what self-employed people are going to get. I have more information on that, but it's not final. So there will be another video about that coming out. But you have a decision to make, it looks like, and this is not by any means specific at all. It says you should be aware that participation may affect your eligibility. For a lot of people with businesses, I have a feeling that the unemployment compensation that you may get, including the $600 per week from the federal government, that may add up to be more than you can borrow from the PPP loan. And not only that, you don't have to pay back unemployment. You do have to pay back probably a portion of this PPP loan. So this is it kind of comes down to two concepts here. Unemployment for businesses that truly went out of business. The PPP loan is designed to keep businesses in business so that you can keep paying your bills and keep paying yourself using the funds that are obtained by getting the loan, with the expectation that that will enable you to resume business, keep the economy going, all of that. If your business has been completely decimated by the lockdowns and everything that's going on, then you're going to want to maybe just look at unemployment. You can also look at it from just purely a numbers standpoint, which is better for me right now. So those are things that we will look at, and those should inform your decisions on which way you want to go. But do know that this is the first mention that there is going to be a conflict between the two programs. And it makes sense. because one is I'm shut down. The other is I'm continuing. Can't really do both at the same time. We finally got some guidance here on how do I calculate the maximum amount I can borrow as a self-employed individual. And it says you find your 2019 IRS Form 1040, Schedule C, line 31. You know what? I'm going to get this. And for those of you who know the form or have looked at it, line 31 is right down here at the bottom right corner. That's going to be your income minus all your expenses, which are taken up here, and you get your final number, your net profit or loss from business. If this amount is over $100,000, reduce it to $100,000. This is similar to how the loan rules work for people with payroll. If this amount is zero or less, you are not eligible for a PPP loan. So if your Schedule C number, line 31, is a zero or a negative, in tax land, that's a happy thing, right? Because zero means no taxable income from your business. A negative means a loss, which can offset income from other places on your tax return. For purposes of the PPP loan, zero or negative is not a happy thing. It means you are kicked out of the eligibility to get this loan. Step 2, calculate the average monthly net profit amount, meaning you take that number on 31 and divide it by 12. And then you multiply the average monthly net profit, that number, by 2.5. So this is essentially going to give you 10 weeks of profit. Here's what the lender wants to see. They want to see the 2019 Schedule C. So that'll have to be prepared, whether it's a final or draft. That needs to get done. So that means you have to have all your income and expenses for 2019 figured out and ready to go onto the Schedule C. Second of all, you're going to need an invoice or a 1099 or some record that you received income as an independent contractor or sole proprietor. So look for that documentation as well. If you have bookkeeping software and you have invoices, if you didn't receive a 1099, show them the invoices. Show them the bank statements. Show them the income coming in some form or other. You may need to make a spreadsheet. So moving on, how can the loan proceeds be used? Once you get the money, how are you allowed to use them? And this is different because the name Paycheck Protection Program is about paying other people. Well, in this case, you're paying yourself. And they're saying that's okay. That's what we want you to do. The proceeds of a PPP loan are to be used for the following: owner compensation replacement calculated based on 2019 net profit as described in paragraph 1B above. You can also use it for mortgage interest payments or rent payments, but these would not be personal. These have to be business. So this is more for sole proprietors. If you have a structure that you bought that's part of the business, the mortgage payment would apply to that. Or if you're renting a storefront or something like that, that rent is allowable. Generally, if you're an independent contractor, you're a gig worker, what you're going to spend the money on is essentially your own compensation. You're replacing what's being lost with this loan. So now the big draw here with the PPP loan is that the amount that they give you, a certain amount of it can be forgiven, meaning you don't have to pay it back. So it's kind of like free money for your business to keep your business going. So to answer the question, what amounts shall be eligible for forgiveness? What it says explicitly here in the document is that owner compensation replacement calculated based on 2019 net profit, as described in the earlier paragraph, with forgiveness of such amounts limited to 8 weeks worth of 2019 net profit. So let's think about this, try to see what's going on here. You calculate, let's just talk about independent contractors. You calculate the amount that you can borrow by taking your net profit from 2019, divide it by 12, multiply that by 2.5. That gives you 2.5 months worth of profit, essentially. The amount that can be forgiven from your owner's compensation is 8 weeks of profit. You have borrowed 10 weeks, and they're going to let you, for the maximum you can get forgiven is 8. So if you're what this says to me is if you're a sole proprietor, independent contractor with no employees, it's not possible to get 100% of what you're going to borrow forgiven. 2 weeks of the 10 weeks of your compensation that you were able to get are going to have to be paid back. So keep that in mind. Now, that's a small amount. Maybe you can take the loan, you can set it aside and pay it back from the proceeds itself and keep 8 weeks. Have that forgiven. I would think that would be the strategy there. So here's the important takeaway. You're going to borrow 10 weeks, 2.5 months of your profit. That's the maximum amount that you can get from one of these loans. The maximum that can be forgiven that you don't have to pay back is going to be a little less than that, 8 weeks. So you get 10 weeks of money. You can get up to 8 weeks forgiven. That's if it's all spent on yourself, on providing yourself with your owner's compensation. So there's 2 weeks there that you're going to have to pay back according to this document and according to how I understand this document at this time. So that is something to keep in mind that, again, if you're doing a comparison, if you're thinking, do I want to go for unemployment as a self-employed individual, which is not up and running yet, or do I want to try to get one of these loans to save my business and keep it from running or keep it from shutting down, maybe you want to consider the fact that all of the money you're going to receive to help you keep yourself going during this time and keep the business going, 2 weeks of that profit is most likely going to have to be paid back. So that is something to definitely keep in mind. And it explains it right here. It says the administrator, in consultation with the secretary, that's the Treasury Secretary, has determined that it is appropriate to limit the forgiveness of owner compensation replacement for individuals with self-employment income to 8 weeks worth of 2019 net profit. This is most consistent with the structure of the Act and its overarching focus to keep workers paid and will prevent windfalls that Congress did not intend. So they don't want you to be making money off of this deal, basically. So I hope this helps clarify the PPP loan for self-employed individuals and independent contractors. The key takeaway here is you need your numbers. You need the information. You need the Schedule C, draft or final. And you're going to need some proof that you received income as an independent contractor or a sole proprietor. So start gathering those documents if you're interested in moving forward with this loan. And of course, if you're interested in getting this done quickly, you can email me at the email below. Look forward to hearing from you. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, be well, and we'll talk to you soon.